Oh, okay. It just started. Alright, that's cool. Hello, everybody. It's Aiden. Um, the audio quality and visual quality are definitely lacking this time around. Well, more than they have been because I'm using my. This laptop's probably at least 4 years old. Um, its camera and its microphone. I am on the road. I have a new job that I probably talked about last week. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I have a new job of being a trainer for a pizza franchise, 1000 Degrees Pizzeria, that you may or may not have heard of. But I'm actually training to be a trainer currently, which, all things considered, will be a short process, but realistically, it will take this whole training of a new store that we're about to visit on Friday down here in Gainesville, Florida. Gainesville being a town. I would have to wager about an hour and a half north, at least, of Orlando, to give you some reference, and also home to the University of Florida. Not to be confused with Florida State, which is another school. But I know nothing about these places other than I think both of their teams are in the Division I college football nonsense and basketball and all of that. Anyway, that was a preamble that was not necessary for this video, but here we are. I am in week 4. 4 being my favorite number, my lucky number, of being on testosterone. It's late. I've been traveling all day, and I also made a silly error of booking a hotel in not the town that I landed in, because I actually have to go back tomorrow to pick up the lead trainer and the other trainer that's training with me. Anyway, we're done with talking about that. Week 4. Again, these are all unedited. Eventually they will be, and eventually I won't be just talking nonsense without the aid of the power of hard cuts and slide transitions. Also, I have some fucking sound in here, because like the floor is mostly hardwood, and the walls are made of some plaster thing. So everything is just bouncing. Actually, hold on. Oh, it can focus a lot better if I put my hands here. Hey, better quality. At least on my end, it looks better. But anyway, I'm already 4 minutes in, and I still have not even talked about the actual stuff I want to talk about, while I cheat and pull up my list of things I wanted to discuss off screen. So last week's video was quite short, mostly because I ran out of time, ran out of memory on my phone, which I will fix. Actually, I won't even need to fix it, because I will have most likely a new method of recording by next week, if I get my shit together anyway. But yeah, so this past week, So I touched on this before. I do remember. I don't know how much I touched on it, but basically, it's not consistent still, but I'm noticing fluctuations in my voice, and that probably has to do a bit on my end, being cognizant of my changes and just trying to probably speak in a deeper tone, to also try and accommodate the what is it? The expansion of my vocal cords. I believe that's how that works. I believe they expand, they do not contract. That would be if we were going the other way on the scale of transitioning gender-wise. But yeah, sometimes it just kind of feels like, you know, when I speak, like I'm not reaching as high of a pitch, or like, especially when I'm singing, I strain a bit more when I'm like hitting high notes, because I love Lady Gaga, and I do still listen to a lot of classic Evanescence. Those are my choices. I live with them, and yeah, sometimes, especially when I've just woken up in the morning, or when it's getting later, like now, as I'm winding down, I just kind of sit down here on my vocal spectrum, whereas like at peak hours, I'm probably a little higher. I mean, to most people, it definitely still sounds feminine, all things considered. But I feel like progress is actually being made. I do apologize, as we're hitting the 7-minute mark, that this one's going to be a little longer, a bit more something. See, it's late. It's late. I can't think anymore. I think I also had problems articulating last week or the week before, but okay, I'll save that for last, actually. One more, well, two more small touchstones. I noticed that I'm growing hair on my wrists now, whereas before I did not really have hair on my wrists. They kind of stopped about here, and now it's like inching its way up to about here, up onto the lower portion of my hand. Honestly, the hairs are so tiny still that I'm holding it up to the light so that I can see for clarity and for accuracy. But yeah, that's about where that is. And then the only other thing is that this was probably, I think, one of the first things I talked about, that I noticed that my smell was changing. That is solidified now, 100%. There is a definite pit smell change, as it were. Definitely stinkier. I don't know if it's I was forced to just buy a straight up deodorant versus an antiperspirant and deodorant the last time I had to go out and buy some, because I was lazy and didn't feel like going to 10 stores, so I settled for where I was at on the first go around. And I don't know if that affects how quickly I start to smell, like not showering. Like before, I could, for example, go, if I had off for like a week, I could probably go 3 days and still smell like okay, as long as I wasn't like, you know. But now it's like you gotta shower every day or that shit fucking stank. Like, but that's part of the contract you sign. But that's really, those are the two small touchstones. Already coming up on 10 minutes. Sorry, guys. Eventually, I'll just consolidate all of my weekly transition vlogs from these early stages into like one condensed thing. Actually, that's something good to talk about, because then if I rewatch this, I'll remember for myself. I'll probably do that. I'll say 6 months. I'll say 6 months in. Well, that's a lot of shit to cut. It's not too much, especially if I'm keeping the videos on the shorter end of things. But anyway, that's a production meeting for myself. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, I will go ahead and say that if you are squeamish or just not a fan of talking about icky gooey things or weird body things that are just a bit more in the kind of private sphere, private side of your life, then please by all means stop watching the video now, stop listening to me gab, because I'm going to talk about, to put it in light terms, Shark Week. The red tide. It's like Aunt something. Aunt Ruby, we'll say. Fucking period. So for those of you that don't know, I'll just give you a quick rundown that when you start to transition, it's not just a snap of the finger and like poof, you don't have a period anymore. As with the rest of this change, so too does a period linger and eventually fizzle out potentially. Not everybody like totally loses it, depending on, you know, your situation, circumstances. Stopping tea somewhere along the way, you may get spotting. You know, there's a whole series of variables in this, but basically for the majority of trans males, trans masculine individuals, you're going to see your period go totally away within 3 to 4 months. Maybe longer, maybe shorter, genetics, that all plays a factor into it. But for me personally, now at the 1 month mark, so number one for my period, I noticed that it started a little late. Came a little late to the party, probably by about a few days. Although for me, like every once in a while, periods start late, start early, you know. But I took note that this one specifically did take a few days extra to come around. Number two, period is substantially weaker. And again, with genetics, everybody's different with their period. I will be, I guess, trying to just keep the details as broad as possible without getting too personal, but basically the way mine works is that I get like a warning sign, like it's like a day of like knock knock, here I come kind of deal, and then it's about two, maybe 3 days of a heavy flow, and then it tapers off for the next like 2-3 days. So for this one, and the other crucial bit of information is that especially on the heavy days, I wear tampons, okay? I would probably have to go through like at least 3 tampons over the course of the day. I don't know if that includes overnight or not, but whatever. Did not have to go through more than 1 a day this time. And I mean, I'm always like over prepared, so like I always like prep up early and stuff. And so as a matter of fact, so I got the warning day, but then I got like a second warning day, and then even on the heavy days, like it was like whatever. Not much was going on, which very, very good. Hello, good quality again, because my hands are all front and center. With the period, that's probably the biggest difference seriously that I've noticed with my transition. And honestly, it's pretty cool. Like that being like the significant marker to start, because for those of you that watch this either in real time as I'm posting this and updating regularly, or even those who are watching it later down the road, and then also for those of you who may be about to transition or are transitioning and just seeing other people, or if you're not and you're just curious and learning about this, all of you, I think, have to understand, well, again, I will harp on the fact that it's different for everybody. And I think I just lost my train of thought. But, I remember what I was going to say, 100%. So, when in many facets of my life, I suffer from what you may be familiar with or not, something called imposter syndrome. Basically, if you are unfamiliar with the term, diagnosis, if you will, self-diagnosis usually, it is a mental issue in regards to feeling like you are not something that you are. I'm a trans male. I'm taking testosterone. I will eventually fully realize who I am on the outside that I already see on the inside. But sometimes I don't, like, because of being misgendered, especially on the daily, I kind of wrestle with it in my head, like, am I actually part of, am I actually part of the club? That's a very poor way to phrase this, and I'm sorry. Editing will fix that in the future. But it's hard because, and now that I've been taking it for a month, testosterone, you like, it's such a mental game, right? Because for me, I've been following a lot of trans men. I've been following some trans women, just seeing their results, but I'm seeing a lot of the final product. I'm seeing these people, 1, 2, 3 years after their start date of hormone therapy. I'm seeing, for lack of a better phrase, end results. And so when you're living in the moment, it's very hard to kind of be like, is it gonna happen? Am I doing this? Am I trans? Like, is this just something that's like, not a phase, but it's just such a mental game, because all of these changes do take a while. Nothing is overnight. And honestly, me educating other people, especially in my daily life, educating people on everything kind of helps reaffirm that, yes, like, I am on this path. Other people have been and will be on this path, and it just takes a long time. But it's hard because, you don't see the markers like you want. Like me, like, I am such a, like, all-in kind of person, and like a quick results kind of person. So this, in this space and in this time, May 2nd, 2018, like, I am just like total scatterbrain in my emotions regarding this transition, because I'm so scared that, like, somebody's gonna call me out, like, and it won't. This is anxiety talking. Somebody's gonna call me out and be like, who the fuck are you? Like, you're a total sham. Like, that's I'm just going off on tangents, but they're all related, I promise. I've been wanting, hoping, dreaming to transition since 2014. Took me 4 years for myriad reasons to start this process. I'm finally here. And that's part of the mental game too. When it's been so long Socially, I transitioned basically since the outset. But like now that I'm finally here, it's like, you take a step back and you just like, well, maybe I'm not. And it's a big bummer. It's a big bummer because I'm on the road, but I can go in my backpack right now, I can pull out my testosterone. I took my T-shot earlier today, so I don't need to take it now, but I can look at it and be like, this is mine, I have this, I'm on this, I'm doing this. I'm not scared, I'm not questioning, I'm not, doubting the path that I put myself on, because this is what I want. This is what I've wanted for a long time. But you have to understand that for people in this, I guess, struggle, as it were, there's a lot going on, and I think I want to hammer that home too, especially the people that have not and will not transition. You need to understand that the people around you that are transitioning, people that you know and love, or even someone just walking down the street that you somehow know is trans, or celebrities that come out as non-binary, trans male, trans female, trans masculine, trans feminine, whatever. You have to understand that regardless of where they're at, there was, there is, and there probably will be, regardless of where they're at on their journey. There's a big struggle up here, and it's not every day. It's not, like every waking minute, constantly thinking about it. Like it's like with anything else. You're not always thinking about it. It's there, especially in the quiet moments when you're alone. I'm gesturing to the empty hotel room that I'm in. It can really get to you. Not that it does every time you're alone, but it can. And especially when you don't have anybody to talk to in the moment, to affirm, or to kind of let you just talk out your feelings, just to put it out into the air and to verbalize it, to understand it, to process it a little better. It's rough. And I hope that all made sense. No edits. But yeah, that's my issue now. Because of me wanting quick results, this is the true trial time. Through my research, I've been trying to get a better idea of like when everything occurs, and this is something else I think I touched on in an earlier vlog. There are kind of these time frames of when certain things happen, generally, for probably about 80% of those transitioning, specifically within the trans male community. But they all happen at different times for people. And like, for me, with the register of my voice, as it naturally was before transitioning, for me it will probably take a lot longer for me to hear, as I point to my throat, for me to hear a true difference. And I mean, a lot of that will probably come from going back to my original vlog, or the first one. Because honestly, if I listen to this after I record it, which hopefully I'm done soon, because 24 minutes, stop talking. If I listen to this and I go listen to the very first one from a month ago, probably won't sound that different. If I give myself time, like a logical person, knowing all of what I know, if I wait like 2 more months, I will probably hear a substantial difference. And then that's when I'll cry, because I will finally hear the main thing that I've been wanting this whole time. Because that's the other part too, that, and again, I touched on this, I am someone who plays video games a lot. And I also talk to a lot of people on the internet. I play D&D over Discord. That's the easiest example I can make. And I mean, all of the people that I personally know already, straight up, they know that I am trans male and that I use male pronouns to identify myself, and so they're all on board. But for when I play something like Overwatch in team chat, and you're usually bundled up with a bunch of strangers on a team, they hear your voice and they make assumptions. And so, or most people make assumptions, I should say. And even in my day-to-day, I just traveled all day today. And people see curves, and people see feminine features. People see this that's just off camera, that is bound. I only wear a single layer for binding. They're called Underworks. That's what it is, Underworks. Full tank binders. I mean, they do their job pretty well. I've got a lot going on here, unfortunately, so I feel like even if I did put on 2 more layers, it's pointless beyond a certain point, which for me is not very far along. But yeah, so from the audio cues and the visual cues that people see, I get misgendered all the time. And so these definitive hallmarks of transitioning for me, as I point to my cheek, are so important. There are people who transition and from the outset, they already can pass. If you don't know what that means, I'm not going to try and drag this on anymore. Please look that up. Passing. Some people pass naturally. I actually have a fair few, specifically non-binary friends who don't even have to really do much. They already have a voice that is very questionable within the binary. That's a bad way of putting it. I love my friends. I'm not trying to paint them in some weird light. Or rather, in a bad, weird light. Everybody's weird that I know, I think. I'm fucking weird. I mean, look at my shirt. Power Rangers. And then look, this is from a video game. This is yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Anyway. I have envy of these people, is probably what the ultimate point is. And that's part of where the imposter syndrome comes in too. A lot of people that aren't in or aware on a grand scale of the trans community, they see these examples of trans people that from the outset were already most likely leaning towards whatever point of the spectrum that they were headed towards, And I mean, people like me do exist. That's another thing. People like me absolutely exist, and I've seen and met plenty of them that, super curves or just super big bodies that read, specifically for trans men, read full feminine, femme. They're all different terms too. That's the other thing you have to understand within the queer community, within the LGBTQIA+ community. There are just so many different terms, and I always try to make sure that I'm correct, both for myself and for everyone else, because there's a lot of us, and we're very varied. Very varied. Say that 10 times. And so yeah, people like me exist to where we have these very effeminate features, but we want to be seen as male, and it's harder, definitely not the hardest, but it's harder for us who You know, like our trans brothers like and trans sisters like look at us and they understand, and like not even just in the trans community. Again, like I said, my friends like they know what the deal is, and they identify me and gender me and everything appropriately, but it's rough. And I probably missed the plot with what my original point was here. And I'm probably just going in circles at this point. We're at the 30-minute mark. It's good that I'm updating you on the time because, number one, I have a huge ass timer that's right in this corner that you can't see. And number two, I need to end this video very soon. But also, I personally don't like listening and watching someone just ramble on for this amount of time. But I think this was due. This was due because, one, it's a month anniversary. Number two, all of my videos have been short, mostly based on the memory of this bad boy that is currently charging after a very long day of traveling. And as I look at my face, because I'm sure you can see it in the reflection of my glasses every so often, I can see myself because I have a very large screen. Hand time, high quality time. I also got the beginning of second puberty is definitely happening, honestly, because I'm just getting like attacked on my face, like because the quality is so poor on this camera. You actually can't see, but like underneath this like massive meteor strike, there's like I think two little boys down there, and then there's one here, and this was from a while ago, but it's weird and it's bothering me. And then there's one here, nothing up here yet. There was a lump, a sore lump, and it went away. Luckily, the forehead's good. Bless this forehead, this big ass forehead. But yeah, I mean, moving forward, the second month will probably yield a little more, which I'm very excited for. But I guess to end, for my 1 month, 4th week milestone, I think the main message to cap off is, you know, if you're watching this in real time again, or even later, and you're just kind of out there seeking information, my message to especially those who are thinking about physically transitioning, your choices are valid no matter what you do. If you want to physically transition, if you don't, but if you do, I cannot highlight this more, that patience is so necessary. I am super impatient. So what I do is I know what's waiting for me down the road. I've seen what's waiting for me down the road in other people. In my trans brothers and trans sisters who are far further along than me. And that's where I sometimes have to get my strength from when I'm in doubt or just tired of waiting. But I waited 4 years to do this. Well, not willingly. Did not willingly wait 4 years, but I waited 4 years to do this. So I can wait another 3, 4, 5, however long to get to where I want to be, because it will be far less time than 4 years. So thank you all for coming with me on this journey. I so greatly value your time and your understanding and your willingness to learn and willingness to be there for me if you have made it to the end of this video. If you've made it to the end of this video, especially if you've watched and followed all of the previous vlogs, granted there aren't many, there's only, a handful, because I've been going week by week, but hopefully the audio quality isn't terrible on this, and it will actually be good. But thank you, and take care of yourselves, and bye for now.